Past 14 months, you have heard two main things about the war in Ukraine. The first is that the war in Ukraine is a war of national sovereignty. It is not a proxy battle between superpowers. Russia invaded Ukraine. That was immoral. The United States supports Ukraine because the United States supports democracy. But the United States itself is not at war with Russia. This is Ukraine's war to fight. The second thing we have heard over and over again is that Ukraine is winning that war. Ukrainian troops are brave and noble. Russian troops are evil and incompetent. The Ukrainians are beating the Russians. In the end, their victory is inevitable. Now, you're very familiar with these points because you have heard them every day since last February. You've heard them repeated by every power center in the United States, the Pentagon, the White House, the leaders of both parties in Congress, CEOs, and celebrities. And most insistently of all, you've heard them from virtually every single outlet along the entire spectrum of our national news media. These are the two essential themes of the war in Ukraine, and both of them are lies. We know that they're lies because late last week, leaked intelligence about the war in Ukraine began to appear on social media. Briefing slides prepared by the U.S. government began to show up, among other places, on Twitter. And the slides show that this is in fact not Ukraine's war. It's our war.
There you have it, folks. It is our war. Now, the American government is trying to put an agenda out there that we are just allies to Ukraine. And recently, a 20-year-old National Guard was just arrested for releasing these documents. Number one, I have questions. How did this 20-year-old come to this evidence? How can he have access to classified documents? And what the media wants you to believe that, oh, he broke the law. He's a terrorist. He's releasing these information to the public, not to like Asia or China or anything. He's releasing this information to the public. So they want you to think that he's a terrorist, a spy, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old National Guard. And I looked it up. I had to see, okay, so how did he come about with these classified documents? His name is Jack Teixeia. Jack Teixeia. His official job title was called Cyber Transport System. Cyber Transport System Journeyman. I guess he has access to these documents that we didn't know about, these classified documents. But the media is saying, oh, he's this, he's that. But don't ignore what documents did he release. And we're going to unpack that. Tucker Carlson, he was on, he reported this last night. And so I digged into it and I found a few articles about what exactly did these documents say? What did they reveal? Why does the US, Joe Biden, does not want you to know about these documents? Turn on my light. I hope you guys could see me okay. But yeah, why don't they want you to know what's in these documents? And we're going to unpack that. And I found the article. This is from BBC. What the leaked Pentagon documents revealed. It was 8 key takeaways they want you to know about. They're saying the UN boss too accommodated to Russia. It says the US believed that the UN Secretary General stance on key grain deal was undermining attempts to hold Russia accountable for the Ukraine war. Antonio Guterres was too willing to accommodate Russia's interests. And of course, since we're allies with Ukraine, hey, we're funding their war, by the way, and we'll see that we're not only funding their war, we're actively participating in their war. We are at war with Russia. We're not just allies. We are at war with Russia. So, of course, U.S. didn't like that. U.S. doesn't like Russia, so they don't like this secretary not holding Russia accountable for the Ukraine war. It also suggests in these documents, Jordan feared Chinese retaliation over Hawaii. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but, or country, right. So it says, while the bulk of the leaked documents concern in one way or another that the Ukraine war, there are others that touch on huge range of unrelated issues. Many of them shed the light of Washington's global preoccupation, like the spread and purpose of Chinese technology. Jordan Crown Prince Hussein is in charge of the rollout, and it says is that the document is worried about retaliation from China if they kept Huawei out. So they're worried about. So this is not only to do what Ukraine war. It also deals with other dealings. And Hawaii is a technology company. I guess they have smartphones and IT communications. So let's read. Russia infighting over Ukraine dead. The newly discovered documents suggest that Russian officials are loggerheads over the reporting casualties. The main intelligence agency, the FSB, that's the main intelligence agency in Russia, the Russian Intelligent Federal Security Services. So that's Russia's intelligence agency, accused that the country's defense ministry of playing down the human impact of the war, the files show. Its findings shows the extent to which the U.S. agency has penetrated the Russian intelligence and military. Now, this is the kicker. Reason why I titled this Biden is lying to us, because they're lying to us. The media is reporting that, oh, this guy, this 20-year-old boy came across these documents or accessed these documents, whether legally or unlegally, that he's the crime is with him. He's responsible for this crime. But like I said, these documents was leaked and now they're known to the public. And now we need to figure out what was in the documents. And this is what's in the documents. Western special forces operating inside Ukraine. Special forces are operating inside Ukraine. This document was dated on March the 23rd. A small number of Western special forces operating inside Ukraine without specifying their activities or location. What did we just mention? The findings show the extent that the U.S. agency has penetrated the Russian intelligence and military. They're operating, that when they say Western is US. We're the only people in the West. They didn't say Canadians. They said Western. So they're talking about the US. The UK has the largest contingent, 50, followed by Latvia, France, and US, and the Netherlands. So we're over there fighting a war that has nothing to do with us. Western governments typically refrain from commenting on such sensitive matter, but this detail is likely to be seized upon by Moscow, which has recent months argued that it's not just confronting Ukraine, but NATO as well. Other documents says when dozen new Ukrainian brigades being prepared for offense that could begin within weeks will be ready. The list is great detail and tanks, armors, vehicles, and artillery pieces that are being provided by Ukraine's Western allies. U.S. dims hopes for the Ukraine offense. So not only we're talking about, this is what Tucker Carlson said. We just fact checking Tucker Carlson. They said we was winning, or not we, or Ukraine was winning. Hey, they're winning the war. And it comes to find out, no, we're not. They're not winning this war. They're just losing a bunch of people. According to the Washington Post newspaper, one document from the earlier February expresses misgiving about Ukraine's chances of success in its forthcoming counteroffensive, saying that the problem with generating and sustaining sufficient forces could result in modest territorial gains. Ukraine's difficulties in maintaining vital air defenses are also analyzed, with warnings from late February that Kiev might run out of critical missiles. One document I read, they said they already exhausted all their military resources. So this war that U.S. is fighting, they don't have any materials. They don't have any missiles. They don't have any weapons. They ran out of them. Listen to this. This is something else that was revealed. Egypt secretly planned to supply rockets to Russia. They're planning to supply 40,000 rockets to Russia. President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi told officials to keep production and shipment secret to avoid problems with the West. So not only, now you'll see some documents out there or some news reports saying, oh, U.S. is spying on other countries. You'll see that. You'll see documents saying U.S. is spying on other countries, and we should be ashamed of ourselves that we're spying on other countries. Other countries meaning they're our allies. So we're spying on other countries, meaning they're our allies. And China, and we'll go to this tweet, China kind of scolded the U.S. because of this. But it's like, okay, you spy on us, so we're going to spy on you. China spies on you. They spy on you through Twitter and all these other technologies that they have available. So we'll see that China is mad that U.S. is spying. But anyway, Egypt is planning to supply Russia. And we found that out through spying. And you think Russia or Egypt, I guess they're supposed to be part of the UN or whatever, the peace treaty. Not for sure. You guys could fact check me on that, but they're planning to supply weapons to Russia. Now, South Korea, they don't know if they want to supply any more military weapons to Ukraine. This is in the document. The document that we shouldn't have nothing to do with it, this Ukraine war, but this is in the document. This is in the document that they've been telling us for months, hey, we need to stand by Ukraine. For what? It says a classified document seen by the BBC reveals that South Korea was torn about selling weapons to use in Ukraine. The report based on signal intelligence details and sensitive conversations between national security advisor. They are torn between U.S. pressures to send ammunition to Ukraine and their policy not to arm countries at war. So South Korea has a policy not to arm countries at war, but U.S. is trying to pressure them to send these ammunitions to Ukraine. So just because it's U.S., they supposed to go against their policy. As part of the resupply deal last year, Seoul insisted that the U.S. got a mosquito in here, that the U.S. could not pass the shells onto Ukraine. Seoul has been reluctant to arm Ukraine for fear of antagonizing Russia. They want to stay out of it. South Korea wants to stay out of it, but the U.S. wants to pressure them into it. And it also reveals China conducted experimental weapon tests. The Post also found that Beijing tested one of the experimental missiles, hypersonic glide vehicle. It's a DF-27 hypersonic glide vehicle. The missile flew for 12 minutes, a distance of 1,300 miles, according to the documents. So China is testing their missiles. You might be thinking like, Shawan, what's the big deal? The big deal is that the government is not your friend. They lie to you all the time. That's the big deal. They lied to you about this. They're going to be lying to you until you leave this earth. And they're sending our resources, our people over there. And then they have the nerve, when U.S. veterans come back, they can't get crap. There's more homeless U.S. veterans on the street, but you got a nerve to send them over to this country that has nothing to do with us. I'm a firm believer. Take care of your people. Take care of your own people. You trying to fund somebody else, take care of your own people. Beauty says, what's my source? You could find these articles on BBC. That's an international source. So they had this, not bias. Tucker Carlson revealed it, but BBC has this extensive report about these leaked documents. Frank is saying the American people has been played big time. Not only we're putting our troops in danger, we're putting the whole United States in a very vulnerable position that we could be facing a bad situation. This was a massive, massive security breach. It was a very massive security breach. We ought to be wondering, how in the world does this 21-year-old National Guard, is it National Guard Reserve? Or that's two different entities? If you're in the National Guard, is that considered National Guard Reserve? I'm not for sure. Somebody put that in the chat. But yeah, putting the whole country at risk. And how did this young man come about to these documents? How did he have access to these documents? These classified documents he had access to. And people are saying, oh, he leaked it to the, no, he didn't leak it. He was in this group. They, the reports that I read, he was always fascinated in about the military and about weapons and all this stuff. So he joined the military. Not saying that he was psychotic or anything like that. He just decided to join the military. And he was in this group chat. And he probably was like, oh, look what I found. This is what we're doing over here in this group chat, this private group. And someone from the private group leaked the information out. Yeah, he's wrong for leaking the information. But as an American citizen, we pay taxes. We should be knowing what our government is doing, especially if we're involving ourselves in a war. Do you not agree with that? As a taxpayer, do you agree that the US government should let us know if we're actually involved in a war? Beauty said, you lost me at Tucker Carlson. Some people are not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but I go to the people that's going to report the news. I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson. He goes off the rails sometimes, but if you want a free free thought, you got to listen to all the news. CNN, I listen to CNN. I listen to Fox. You can't just be listening to one-sided media. That's how you get bamboozled. Okay, so Frank said he's a reservist, but serving in a full-time position. I'm assuming that's what you was trying to say. Yeah. So yeah, this young man, he's a reservist, and how in the world did he get these intelligent documents? That's what we need to worry about. They're trying to put a fall guy. Now you probably like, oh, Shawan, he did the crime. He needs to check, do the time. But let me refresh you. I made a slide up because I'm so involved with the United States government. I'm saying I'm so involved, but I'm laughing about it. But I'm laughing about it from keep from crying about it. I made a slideshow up just to remind you guys of what we're dealing with when we're talking about the United States government and how sneaky they are. But first, I want to share to you, let's go back to Tucker Carlson and see what is he talking about. We'll play the rest of his video.
The United States is a direct combatant in a war against Russia. As we speak, American soldiers are fighting Russian soldiers. So this is not a regional conflict in Eastern Europe. This is a hot war between the two primary nuclear superpowers on Earth. And yet this war has never been formally declared. It has not been authorized by Congress. And for that reason, this war is a violation of American law. It is a crime. The second thing we learn from these slides is that despite direct U.S. involvement, Ukraine is in fact losing the war.
Did you guys hear that? He said it hasn't been sanctioned, so it's a crime that we're involved in this war because we haven't really declared war on Russia. That's basically what he's saying. I guess there's some systems and balances that need to be checked before they could say, "Oh, I declare war." For U.S. to get troops involved with the war.
7 Ukrainians are being killed for every Russian. Ukrainian air defenses have been utterly degraded. Ukraine is losing. The Biden administration is perfectly aware of this. They're panicked about it, but they have lied about this fact to the public. Just 2 weeks ago, for example, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin told the U.S. Senate that Russian military power is, quote, waning. In other words, Russia is losing the war. That was a lie. He knew it was when he said it, but he repeated it in congressional testimony. That is a crime. But Lloyd Austin has not been arrested for committing that crime. Instead, the only man who has been taken into custody, or likely ever will be, is a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who leaked the slides that showed that Lloyd Austin was lying. He revealed the crimes, therefore he's the criminal. That's how Washington works. Telling the truth is the only real sin. Now, our news media exist and have constitutional protection precisely in order to push back against this grotesque standard. Their only job is to tell the truth. And yet tonight, the news media are celebrating the capture of the kid who told Americans what's actually happening in Ukraine. They are treating him like Osama bin Laden, maybe a little worse, actually, because unlike al-Qaeda, apparently this kid is a racist.
Yeah. They're going to destroy the kid, a 20-year-old kid. They're going to destroy him. They're going to destroy him because he leaked the truth. And now the governments can't lie to us. The government can't lie to us. So they're going to destroy him. And I want you guys, you really got to pay attention what the media is putting out there, what the U.S. government is putting out there. Best believe if they putting out there one thing, something else is going on. Don't believe the hype. If they put out one thing, it's something more than that's going on. Now, they probably, let me see if I could get to her. They probably want to, stop panic and all that stuff, and don't want to raise questions. I guess, some stuff that is revealed by the US government that the government does really doesn't need to be revealed to the public. But this kind of stuff, it should be revealed to the public. You're actively participating in a war that you shouldn't be in. So I'm going to play this. This is what they're talking about.
The leak of classified Pentagon documents that were posted on several social media sites. Here's the suspect. His name is Jack Teixeia, being detained outside his Massachusetts home. He is 21 years old. He's a member of the 102nd Intelligence Wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. For more on how they zeroed in on him, let's bring in CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis.
You see how they say, oh, how they zeroed in on him. Like he's just a mass, like they said, like Tucker Carlson said. Like he's Osama bin Laden or a spy. He's been spying against the government for years. He's 21. This is a kid. He's 21 years old. He can't be that intelligent. Come on now.
And CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang, who is joining us from Dublin, Ireland, where she's traveling with the president. Olivia, let's start with you. How did intelligence officials and the FBI track down this particular suspect?
Well, it happened rather quickly, a matter of days, once these documents moved into more public mainstream outlets from that small private server where they first appear to have been posted. Because what we're learning, based on accounts that were given to the Washington Post and other outlets by somebody who claims to know Jack Teixeira and to have been a member of this small Discord channel where they were first posted, he was doing this possibly as far back as October, and he was doing it in documents by the hundreds. At first, it sounds as though he may have been transcribing classified materials before then saying, that's too time-consuming, I'm going to upload digital images of these classified documents. But it wasn't because, according to the accounts of this person who knows him, he had a workplace gripe or he had some sort of opposition to the war in Ukraine. He was effectively a 21-year-old showing off to a peer group.
Look what I know. Look what I have access to.
That's what it looks like. We haven't heard from him directly about his motivation, but that's what it looks like.
That's his pure motivation. Look, I work for the government and I have access to this information. But now the US government has answers to give us. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot on Jack's Teixeira or whatever his name is. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him because that's not, he's not the problem. The problem is the US government that continue to lie to us. And we act like, oh, we act like they haven't did this in the past. And they have. They have. And they always do. And look, the reason why they leaked these documents, the reason why the government needs to answer for these leaked documents is because of what's in the documents. Blue Watt said, I like Tucker. Our government loves war. Yeah, they do. They really do. So I got this slide show together for you guys that I want to share with you. And only reason why I want to share it with you is because this is the country that we live in. The country that we live in, the US government is not your friend. You know, we have to hold them accountable. If we don't hold them accountable, they'll do anything to us. They will allow anything. If they could control us, they will. Okay, so that's why you got to hold the US government and these elected officials accountable. And because when you don't, when you just let things slide, the more you let slide, the more control they will have over you. So these are the leaked documents in the past. And this is based off of maybe 10, 20 years ago. The Iraq war logs. This was WikiLeaks. This released over 391,000 US military documents, provided an unprecedented look at the conduct of Iraq war, including reports of civilian casualties and other incidents previously unknown to the public. They made movies about this. People going over there, women being raped. They killing civilians for no apparent reason. But we're supposed to be the country of humanity and treating everybody with respect. But this is what revealed crimes in time of war. Cablegate, never heard of it until now, till I started looking this up. This is WikiLeaks. This releases over 250,000 diplomatic cables from the U.S. embassies around the world, reveal candid assessments of foreign leaders and other sensitive information related to the U.S. foreign policies. Probably some egregious stuff was in these documents. They didn't really get into it, but that's the sensitive information. And reason why it's on WikiLeaks, if you guys look at WikiLeaks, they'll probably get more in detail about it. Probably some egregious crap that people had a fuss about. Y'all remember this one? This was not too long ago. Edward Snowden. He was a young guy too. Did they say he was a terrorist? But coming to find out, he revealed that the government was spying on everybody. They're able to collect data from your phones and the internet data without your permission. Y'all remember that movie with Will Smith? This is result in people leaking classified documents, what the public didn't know and now is revealed. But we supposed to trust the American government. That's why I don't agree. You took the COVID shot. Why would you take the COVID shot? Why would you trust the American government? They can't even cure cancer, but you could cure something that you supposedly not known about, COVID, that was produced in China, but we don't know nothing about it. But now you got a drug to cure everything from that. You can't cure HIV, you can't cure cancer, but miraculously, you could cure COVID. So they're spying on you and collecting your internet data. And then they get mad at China because they spy on us through TikTok. You see the irony in this? Y'all don't see. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? The government is spying on you, and you mad that the government is spying on you. And the government gets mad at TikTok because TikTok or the China figure out a better way to spy on people. Then the government, the US government, probably like, why didn't I think of that? So the CIA Vault 7. This released over 8,000 pages of documents by WikiLeaks purported to reveal the hacking tools and the capabilities of the CIA, including methods of bypassing encryptions and surveillance on smart TVs. Hello, you got a smart TV? Amazon, Amazon be recording your conversation. Smart TV, they have access to that. Twitter, they have access to that. We already found out the FBI was working with Twitter. They have access to that information. Now, am I saying no, they shouldn't spy? Yeah, I think the government should spy on people because they prevent stuff from happening, terrorist act. So I'm not saying no, they shouldn't spy, but I'm just saying, why is it such a secret? What other information? Okay, if you're allowed, if these are red flags, code names or words that, red flag, but are you just spying on people just to be spying on? And then you can't prevent nothing. Like even 9/11, they knew about 9/11, but they didn't prevent it. It was found that they knew about 9/11 and they didn't prevent it. So what are you using the information? You just holding and sitting on the information? What are you doing? So they know how to bypass encryptions and surveillance of smart TVs. Afghanistan's papers. This release, the internal government documents obtained, the Washington Post revealed that the U.S. officials has been misleading the public about the progress and the prospect of war in Afghanistan. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? That's what we're doing with the Ukraine war. Misleading the public. We thinking that, we're just supporting Ukraine. No, we're actually actively participating in the war. Other events. Now, these are not leaked. This is found through studies and people and encounters and interviews, people actually dying because of the government dealings. Also the Afghan war. If you look up the Afghan papers, it talks about drugs, how they got poppy fields and all that stuff. So it gets kind of deep. I haven't read this book yet, but if you look it up, they have some articles about it, and it's pretty interesting. And it gets to my other events. One of the most well instances for the allegation of the so-called Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s during the Reagan administration, with the knowledge of some CIA officials secretly sold arms in Iran in exchange to release American hostages, and then used the proceeds to those sales in the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. It was alleged. We're saying it was alleged, but we know it wasn't alleged. It was alleged that the Contra rebels was involved in drug trafficking, and the CIA may have turned a blind eye to the activity in order to maintain their support. They brought in drugs to America, particularly the Black neighborhood. And you could watch Snowfall, which is like a reenactment of it. It's not true and untrue, so because it's art per se. But we funded the war. We got all these crackheads running around and they funded the war. And I wouldn't be surprised, you guys. I wouldn't be surprised that fentanyl is not funding something. How are we getting fentanyl in it in the US? How is fentanyl becoming a problem in the US? Crack is no longer the problem. Fentanyl is. How do you think that's getting in the US? So drugs, they poison their own people, I guess because Black is the lowest on the totem pole, and then it spread it like wildfire. Now you got suburban people that's on drugs. It's an epidemic with kids. It's poisoned in our music, in our everyday. If you listen to any rap song, they're talking about popping mollies and on this lean. I forget what the other thing that they take, but it's celebrated. It's celebrating in our culture. But who do you think that's bringing that supply in? It got to get shipped through different countries. It got to cross the border. And all the technology we have, you think they'll be catching all the smugglers? But no, they're not. They just seize bags of counterfeit bags, but they can't seize any fentanyl that's coming in through the border. And I found you guys, look, and when I get on my paper trail, I end up digging up stuff. There's another U.S. official, she's through California government, that's been bringing in pounds of fentanyl through California. And it's old white lady. She's been, whatever she's been doing with the money, but she's been bringing in drugs. What else has the government lied to us about? I'm going to get to your comments in a second. I just want to read through this. The syphilis study. This is about the Tuskegee Airmen. It says the study, which began in the 1930s, was sponsored by the U.S. Public Health Service, was initially intended to study the natural progression of syphilis in untreated individuals. However, as an effective treatment for syphilis became available, the study continued to withhold treatment for participants, even as the disease took several toll on their health and well-being. They just let them men die. And this last one, I just watched a movie about this. It's about Guantanamo Bay. This one individual they said he had something to do with 9/11. They went over to his country and captured him. And he spent 8 years, almost, oh no, I think it was a little bit over 17 years in jail. He never died, but he was in Guantanamo Bay. And some of the documents that was released, it came from the International Committee of the Red Cross, which has access to the facility, and began documenting the allegations and mistreatment and abuse in 2002. The IRC confidential reports, which were shared with the US government, documented incidents of physical and psychological abuse, including beatings, use and restraints, and prolonged isolations. You probably would say, hey, these are people that are terrorists and drug people and all that stuff. Yeah. But this particular person that I'm talking about, I forget what the guy's name is. He was Arabic. He had nothing to do with it. But they didn't give him a trial, and they kept him locked up for years and abused him for years. He's actually blessed that he even survived some of the abuse. But we didn't know this about the inhumane treatment of other people. Well, Guantanamo Bay, probably non-US citizens, but what about all these other people? The syphilis treatment back in the 30s. The CIA putting drugs on the street to support their own war. That's against the American people. That's not just against, other non-citizens. It's against American people. So be very careful of what you're saying. Oh, the government love. No, the government don't love you, and they'll lie to you at any and at all costs. And the cost of you, your family, and your loved ones, because look, Blue Watt, our government loves war at any cost. You're absolutely right. The cost of you. And you're a citizen of the United States, and you're funding it. If you're a taxpayer, you're funding it. You're funding it, and then if they don't got enough money, they're gonna bring drugs in. You're funding that war. I want to show you guys this lady before I get off that I found, so y'all could look it up yourself. Let me see. First of all, let's see if I can find the China video. Oh, here we go. So let's look at this China video and what they're talking about, because they're really upset that China's upset that we've been spying on them. Like, you've been spying on us. Like, why are you upset? But they upset. And I think the US is ashamed that they got caught. They got caught red-handed. Like, oh no, we don't be spying on you. You out there lying through your teeth. lying that you don't spy on people. Let me see.
미국 최고의 정보기관이 불법 스파이 활동을 우리나라와 같은 동맹국을 대상으로 자행해 온 것에 대해 깊은 유감을 표합니다. 명백한 진상 확인과 더불어 다시는 이런 일이 없도록 할 것을 강하게 촉구합니다. 미국
It says, we strongly regret that the U.S. intelligence agency has been illegally spying on allies like our country.
명백한
We strongly demand a thorough investigation and urge that similar incidents do not occur.
다시는 이런 일이 없도록 할 것을 강하게 촉구합니다.
So, yeah. So they trying to launch an investigation on the US. I mean, what about y'all balloons? Okay. So I'm not going to give any more, what it needs to talk about on China. And what does Biden say about this? Nothing. Biden's not saying nothing about this, you guys, because Biden, he can't say nothing. Biden says nothing of great consequences in Pentagon leaks. I'm concerned that it happened, but there's nothing contemporaneous that I'm aware of that is of great consequences. Like, did they even brief you? Like, Biden, what planet Earth are you on? Maybe he thinks we can't read. Maybe that's. I don't know why Biden is even talking. Biden noted that the full-blown investigation was underway by the intelligence community and the Justice Department, who leaked the information. We're getting close, he said, on answers, but I do not have an answer. Shut up. It doesn't make any sense what you're saying. They're saying there's no clear evidence or clear answers of how many documents were leaked. Probably a lot. It all depends on how long he was there and have access to it or had access to it. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, says that there were somehow in the web, and where exactly and who had access at the point, we don't know. We simply don't know. They don't know anything. We will continue to investigate the turn over every walk until we found the source of this and extent of it. Now, this was yesterday. So apparently they knew who, because they made the arrest yesterday, but they reported this yesterday. On Thursday, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, I don't know why. She has a French name. I don't know why. I don't know how to pronounce that. Urged social media companies to avoid facilitating the circulation of materials detrimental to the public safety and national security. No, detrimental to the White House, because y'all full of crap. We do believe that the social media companies have the responsibilities to their users and the country to manage the private sector infrastructure that they create and then operate, she said. But you don't hold yourself accountable. You don't hold yourself accountable. Instead, you want to hold this 21-year-old man accountable. This is what I was telling you about, you guys. Let me see if I can find her picture. They don't even have a picture up here on her. Let's see if I find another one. And this happened. Well, this story came about on March the 31st. They don't have a picture of her. Let me see. Senior police official is facing up to 20 years. Okay, yeah. This is it. And let me show you guys this before I get off. Then I'll leave you alone. Senior California police executive charged with attempting drug trafficking. March the 31st, a senior police union official in San Jose, California is facing up to 20 years in prison on federal charges of attempting importing synthetic fentanyl in the United States. And the Office of U.S. Attorney said the San Jose Police Officer Association Executive Director Joanne Marianne Segovia used her office to order thousands of opioids and other pills and distribute them across the United States, according to the complaint filed Wednesday by the U.S. Attorney Office of the Northern District of California. The complaint alleged that Segovia was apprehended as part of almost a decade-long ongoing Homeland Security investigation in criminal network trafficking drugs into San Francisco Bay Area from Asia and Europe. She's been at it a long time, and she only gonna get 20 years. Between 2015 and 2023, Segovia is alleged to have had at least 61 shipments delivered at her home from countries including Hong Kong, Hungary, India, Singapore, where the contents were variously described as wedding gifts, makeups, and sweets. There were 5 packages intercepted in 2019, contained thousands of pills of controlled substance, including synthetic opioids, tramadol, Tempidol, street values thousands of dollars. She's been let me put that. She's been at it for years, and she's only going to get 20 years. And she probably won't get that. She probably get about 5 years. No one at the POA is involved had prior knowledge of the alleged act, said the spokesman. The POA immediately placed the civilian employee on leave, and it's standard procedure to cut off all access to the POA. What's the POA? Police Officers Association. Okay. So that's the standards procedures, and the board of directors is saddened and disappointed at hearing the news, and we have pledged to provide our full support to the investigative authorities. Segovia told federal investigators in February that she was not involved in smuggling and blamed her family friend and housekeeper. So she tried to blame her housekeeper on it. The complaint states, however, the complaint includes photos of she alleged sent to an accomplice in the scheme, including a computer with the police union work materials nearby and her signature on packaging slips sent from the police union address. The criminal complaint alleges Segovia ran her operation via WhatsApp in 3-year period between 2020 and 2023, exchanged hundreds of messages with someone with the Indian country code. So these messages include the details about the shipments and payment receipts. In one instance, Segovia used a police union UPS account to ship package to a woman in North Carolina and verified it by sending a photo to the supplier. After being interviewed, the federal investigation, so she wasn't really that smart. She was trying to use the mail to send drugs. Now we talking about the U.S. mail to send drugs. The UPS mail. Don't they have dog sniffers at the UPS mail? So she's not that very smart, apparently. Federal agents in Kentucky intercepted the package, including fentanyl, en route to Segovia from China on March the 13th. The custom declaration stated that the contents as a clock. No one is above the law, regardless who their employer is. I want to thank U.S. Attorney Ramsey and his colleagues for aggressively pursuing the sources of fentanyl coming into our communities and holding drug dealers accountable. Let me see if I can find a picture of her so y'all can know what she looked like. You'll be very surprised. You'll be very surprised of this lady. She looks like she's over the PTA board. This is her. This is this lady. That's the lady. And apparently she's been smuggling drugs and she works for the police union. You know, so back to the topic at hand, the government will lie to you and they don't care. Okay, whatever. So that's it. That's it for our show for today. Yeah, you can go back on replay Cade Mon 1. Yeah, go back on the replay. So that's it. This is the lady. She's I guess you'd call it a government official. She's smuggling drugs into California and got caught and tried to mail it to her distributors. Like she tried to mail it to her distributors. Joe Biden is lying. He's been lying all the time. And the American government, they lie to you. So don't believe them. Okay, so you find out the truth. You got to do your own research, see what the media is trying to tell you, and do your own research because they've been lying all this time. And if they lie about this and all those other things that I showed you, they'll lie about anything. All right, people. Well, I'm signing off and I will talk to you tomorrow.